let me know when we're up.
Okay, we're live.
Mr. Chairman, you're okay with me doing all this? Okay. All right, so we're gonna call the meeting, Reac meeting to order. I'm gonna call roll call. Mark Geller. Peg Zugaby.
Here.
Raj Amar. Here. Tim Riley. Here. Okay. First thing we have to do is I need someone to make a motion to convene the Audit and Finance Committee, which is you guys. But I need someone to make that motion so we can go into that session procedurally. That's what we need to do.
I'll make the motion.
All right.
Second.
Chance, okay, Peg, okay, and I'm okay with, we can do all in favor, so, committee. Okay, the first order of business is a review of the independent draft, audit. I know that was sent to you in prior. My perspective is it's pretty standard. I didn't see anything that jumped out, any concerns. There's no issues that reflect that we have to rethink how we do things along those lines. But again, I'll open it up to anybody that has any comments or thoughts about the audit.
So you're saying it was a clean audit?
Yes.
Yeah. Do we have to do, I know what we have to in the school district, test like certain things like payroll and IT, you don't have to do that?
No.
With your audit?
No.
Okay.
If there's no comment about the audit, what I would ask is that this committee have a motion to recommend to the full board that they adopt the audit. That's what this resolution of this committee will be. So if someone wants to make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion to recommend. Okay, and with that said, someone want to make a motion to, adjourn the committee meeting? Okay, all right. Okay, now we're reconvening our general session of the Reac. I need someone to, based on that meeting, I'm asking for someone to make a resolution to adopt the 2023 audit report. Okay. One second. Mark, would someone like to second? Okay. Mark Miller. Okay, I'm going to call roll on this one. Mark Geller. Peg Zugaby.
Yes.
Raj Amar.
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
All in favor. Okay, next. There's a resolution, and this is something, by the way, Mark, and I know this is coming at you 1,000 miles an hour, so I apologize for that. Every year we're required by the state for both Reac, and we'll do the same thing. There's a resolution that asks us to readopt all of our bylaws, all of our policies. Also, authorize me, the administration of the IDA to submit the audit report and our annual Paris completion report when it's completed. So there's a resolution, and I have a written resolution that I believe I sent in advance as well, but it basically lists all of our policies and bylaws and just authorizes us to go ahead and do that.
Two things real quick.
Yes.
First off, it's done third floor. It's not done in the house. And the second thing is explain what a Paris report.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Now, just real quick.
Paris report Paris stands for something. Does anybody know what Paris stands for? Public authority.
Information systems. Public authorities reporting information.
And you get the baby at the vote.
Right. Okay. So that's what Paris report. What it is a quite comprehensive review of every single project. What incentives, what sales tax they've used, what mortgage tax they've done, what their property taxes are they paid versus what they would have paid if there was no pilot. How many jobs they have. It is a extremely comprehensive. We've been working on this. Heidi, when does this start?
I start in November. Yeah.
November. The letters go out initially asking for this information. We could have a meeting about that process alone. It's exhaustive, and it's done. And how we set it up is Heidi, as of today, Heidi compiles all this information, is interacting with every single project in depth, and then when we compile that, and then we send it to it. This Harris Beach is the law firm, but they have a person that then takes that and puts it into this Paris report online. and it's a ton of numbers. It's very, again, I can't emphasize enough, lots of numbers. And then invariably, every year the ABO, the Authority's Budget Office, reviews it and basically audits back to make sure. And then, like any auditor, there's always questions, there's always clarifications, and that's how that goes on. But it's really a major part of what we do. And there's layers of accountability, which I actually know, I appreciate, I know you do as well, that there's a lot of layers of accountability in there. So there's no, everybody knows what's going on. So that's the Paris report. And once you guys have said, okay, we authorize this, once it's complete to send it, that gives us the authority to hit the send button, and post it. And that's where we're at.
And it's all public information.
I will say, just as an aside, just to give you kind of the net result, what happens then is the state controller, and the ABO, they invariably put out reports giving big summaries of all the IDAs. And I will say this, and I don't mind even saying this for public consumption. One of the things I think we should all be very proud is we're one of the smallest states or counties in the state, and yet we're consistently near the top as far as results. If you don't agree, or?
No, I agree.
Okay, and it's a nice, like I said, the short is you're doing a good job. And even though you might say Manhattan, we pale in compared to Manhattan as far as dollar volume for obvious reasons. But if you had comparative, if it's all measured relative, we always do well. So we're doing a good job. So with that said, I would ask if someone wanted to make a motion to pass the resolution to adopt the policies and submit the Paris report.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay. Now, fortunately, what I went through, it's ditto for the IDA, so I won't have to go through the whole thing again, that whole explanation. I will, this is to submit. Okay, I'll call it roll. Mark Geller, Peg Zuggaby,
Yes.
Raj Amar,
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any new business. I don't have any old business. There is our treasurer's report, which is our more routine bills. I didn't see anything in there. Again, if you reviewed it, there was nothing in there that I saw jumped out. But obviously, if there's any questions about anything, we can talk it through. And again, remember that report is done by our bookkeeper, but overlooked by our independent auditor as well. So there's layers of accountability here. If there's no comment or questions regarding that, I would ask someone to make a motion to accept it. I guess we could just do it, all in favor? Okay. Okay, I'll read back the minutes quickly and then we're done with Reac. Meeting called to order 11:05. Motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Peg Zuggaby, go to convene the Finance Committee. Board reviewed the audit draft report. Actually, prior to the meeting, there was no comments. Motion to recommend for its adoption by Raj Amar, seconded by Peg Zuggaby. All in favor, motion, committee adjourned. Full session opened up for Reac again. The resolution to adopt the 2023 audit report made by Raj Amar, seconded by Mark Geller, all in favor. Motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Peg Zuggaby to adopt the policy and submit the Paris report, all in favor. Financial were reviewed and accepted by the board. Motion by Mark Geller, seconded by Raj Amar, all in favor. And that's it. We can adjourn. Okay. All right. Take a breath. There's a lot of signatures. So, all right. With that said, if everyone's okay, we will. And if I'm going too quick, stop. I realize everybody's got places.
Maybe they should get up a notch.
All right. So no, that's why Raj was going like this. Okay. All right. I guess we'll call to order. I guess we can go to, I guess I can call IDA. So before we call them in, we have the first order of business is that we have an authorizing resolution for Shriner. This is the outfit that is that medical printing company. They were here last month. We had a public hearing. There was no public comment at the public hearing. They are going into the former Park Pharmaceuticals building over in Chestnut Ridge. They are looking for sales tax exemption and a pilot. With that said, if there's no questions, I would ask if someone wanted to make a motion to authorize the project.
They're not here.
They're not here. No, typically for authorizing resolutions.
They make
Okay.
containers that hold the medication.
Yeah, those labels on the little, thing. It's a very specialized industry. It's not just printing,
I'll make the motion.
Actually, Peg, did you can make the
I'll
second?
second.
Okay. Okay, I'll call the roll. Mark Geller.
Aye.
Peg Zugaby.
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
No, I did Rajamar. Tim Riley. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor. Okay, our next project is Hotel Nyack. We will ask them to come in. Who's got bar? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
We are on the street, just so you know.
Oh, great. Is there any, do you have this live stream with any individual? Can I have somebody call into this? Is there a
No,
number?
there's no comment there, so we'll do speakerphone.
Yeah, good.
So Hotel Nyack is come to us and is requesting sales tax exemption and a pilot. For those not familiar with Hotel Nyack, is in Nyack. The hotel's been there for a number of years. I'll fill in the blanks, but they're looking to it's being purchased by a new entity, and they're looking to enhance it. So I know someone is going to be on the phone. You want to put them on speaker in case there's a question.
Hey, Chris, how are you? I'm doing well, thank you. I'm going to put you on speakerphone for the board. Oh, there you go. Well, good morning again, gentlemen. My name is Matt Tobin. I'm the general manager at the Hotel Nyack. I have on the phone Chris Kaplan. He's our asset manager with Juniper Capital LLC, the owning entity of the hotel. Chris, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
We can all hear you.
Yeah, apologies that I'm not there in person today. That was my intentions originally. However, life, as you know, throws curveballs, and so unfortunately I'm stuck in Phoenix. But I appreciate everybody's time this morning and look forward to our discussion.
So I asked if maybe like we talked before the meeting, if you could give the board kind of an overview of what's going on, and we'll leave it at that.
Sure. And if you'll oblige me for about 5 minutes, I'd love to give you the history of how we came to acquire the asset and kind of the history over the last couple of years and what our intentions are going forward. So Juniper acquired this asset out of bankruptcy in early 2019. I think the board is probably familiar with some of the challenges or issues of the previous ownership group. We have stepped in and cleaned most of those or all of those up. So over the last couple of years, we have invested, $2.5 million in the property, getting it to a final certificate of occupancy. Believe it or not, this asset occupied for almost 3 years with a temporary certificate of occupancy due to some lingering construction that was never finalized. We had come in and we have since come in and finalized that. In addition to transitioning the hotel to a Hyatt branded hotel under the JDV platform. We've also transitioned the hotel from Dream Hotel Group that was managing the day-to-day operations to Real Hospitality Group, which is a robust hotel manager. I think they have about 150 hotels under management, predominantly in the greater New York area. During that time, as you guys all know, COVID hit, and we've been under some economic headwinds that have been challenging to operate. All of that being said, we have a great platform and a foundation for the hotel, and we are embarking on additional capital improvements vis-a-vis a rooftop food and beverage venue. We are in the process currently of trying to get that approved through the Village of Nyack. Most recently, in December, at the end of last year in December, we successfully amended the zoning code to allow rooftop dining in the M district where the hotel resides. The next steps in the process are architectural review boards and ultimately planning board for final approval. We are very optimistic based on conversations with the various entities that we will ultimately get approved, and are planning on investing upwards of $2.5 million to build out this rooftop venue. We believe that this is going to be a fantastic amenity for the not only for the hotel itself, but more broadly speaking for the Village of Nyack. In mid-2023, the village adopted a new a law, I guess, where they now are collecting transient occupancy tax, tourism tax. And since that program went into place, Hotel Nyack has contributed nearly $200,000 in transient occupancy tax to the village. And through the development of the rooftop, we envision that number will grow materially. So I'm going to pause there for a moment and ask if there are any questions.
Chris, this is Raj. Are you guys looking to make it a four-season rooftop, or is it just seasonal?
Currently, it's anticipated to be seasonal. However, we are exploring options to potentially provide, a rooftop or a lid, so to speak, a hard lid, whereby we could extend that seasonality.
Okay, good. And I'm assuming you have a fantastic view of the Hudson River, correct?
Absolutely, and of the bridge, yes.
Okay.
We have architectural renderings and design that is pretty far along in the process. We have, as I mentioned, we went to a zoning hearing and received comments from the board and incorporated those comments into our design. Some of which, regarding dark sky ordinance and safety, concerns of our guests. And so we feel very confident and comfortable that the design that we ultimately present to the architectural review board will ultimately get approved.
Few questions, if I may. Sure. What is going to be the occupancy of this rooftop unit?
I think maximum occupancy is roughly 200 individuals.
Are you going to have an issue with parking? Because I know you're kind of locked in there.
No, we don't believe there's going to be any parking. Frankly, we have more than sufficient parking currently.
Okay. That's our issue. The planning board will take care of that anyway.
Yeah. Just to make sure that this is Steve Porth. What has been the response of the village to this? I mean, I know you have to go through the approval process, so I guess I'm asking you informally, what's your take on the village, how they feel about this project? Yeah,
from my perspective, and certainly would love Matt to jump in here if he has any thoughts or comments as well as boots on the ground. But we feel that the village is very receptive and to this future improvement, the rooftop F&B venue. But more importantly, we believe that the village views the hotel as an asset for the village, bringing tourism to the village of Nyack and also tourism dollars to the village's operating budget. Again, I think it's important to reiterate that this asset launched with several challenges and controversy that we have been able to rectify, and I think we are on a very good path to long-term success, but ultimately need a little bit of help in terms of some potential financial assistance to get there.
Thank you. The reason I asked that was because I wanted to have it just put more on the record, because one of the things I want the board to be aware of, while, we traditionally don't do typical retail, this is, I believe would fall under the board, and the board should consider that this falls under more of a tourism project, which we've done. And we have done hotels in the past under that guideline, particularly over in Montebello, for example.
Is the hotel open now?
Yes.
What is your occupancy rate?
Last year, we finished at a 54% occupancy.
So hopefully this will not only help with the income from the rooftop, but also the rooms themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. We're projecting it to get up back to 70%, which we were pre-pandemic levels in the next few years.
Right.
Sir,
Call the question.
yeah, just, I guess.
I'll make a motion. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I was kind of mumbling that along. Somebody want to make a? Okay, we'll call roll. Mark Geller. I didn't hear that. You said yes, okay. Peg Zugby. Raj Amar.
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Okay, gentlemen, you've been induced. What will happen at this point is, that's like kind of a preliminary approval, says that if you go forward, that you can anticipate getting these incentives. That's not the lawyer talking, that's me talking. And we'll have a public hearing. You're not required to attend the public hearing. It's really a one-way conversation. Anybody from the public that wants to provide the IDA with any public comment regarding the matter, you're certainly welcome to come, but you're not required to come, nor will you be asked to speak or present at that public hearing. Following that, and I would assume at this point there's no reason why it wouldn't happen in our April meeting, the board will do what's called an authorizing resolution, which is the final approval. It takes into account any comment from the public hearing. Once we've authorized, and at that point, really, I hand it off to attorneys to go ahead and provide the closing documents. In that time frame, I think, does that work for you guys?
It does, yes.
Okay. All right, I think.
Still have
Just out of
to-
curiosity.
Yeah, you still, yes, we'll probably be done before you get your approvals.
You're not gonna be in time for your next season, I assume.
Chris, you might be able to answer that based off the approval process. Would it be available for next summer?
Well, so that's what we're planning on. So our goal is to, assuming we get the approvals through the architectural review board and the planning board, we would like to start construction at the end of this year, fall of this year, to have it open this next summer, each season.
Okay, we're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
gentlemen.
Okay, we'll be in touch. We'll let you know when the hearing is, but we'll talk, we'll follow up.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, next project, was he's getting himself organized and coming on in, is 1547 Realty. I'll wait for him to come in.
Come on in.
Good morning. Hey, Pat, how are you? Let me, and for everyone, Pat Hines, 1547 Realty, and Pat, if you don't mind, I'm going to just kind of give just a little introduction to the project. 1547, as I think everyone knows, is over in One Ramland Road over in the town of in Orangeburg. We had already done one IDA project with them as far as them when they first took over. And we have done numerous projects with various tenants. They are a multi-tenanted data center as compared to other data centers that are single owner occupied, let's say. 1547 is coming to us because they are looking to take another step in the evolution of that facility. And with that said, I'll hand it off to you, Pat, to give everybody a quick overview of what you guys have in mind.
Thanks, Steve. As Steve said, I'm Patrick Hines. I'm a managing partner of 1547 Critical Systems Realty. We develop, own, and operate data centers nationally. We have been blessed by being part of Rockland County. We got involved in 2010. We initially bought a vacant warehouse with flexible office and some warehouse space. We were able to get it entitled. The town of Orangetown let us convert it to be a data center. And we are at the, I guess we're about $100 million into the project. We've spent to date. We're coming back to try to get induced for another $100 million of sales tax benefit, as well as the mortgage recording tax and the pilot program. The additional $100 million will complete what we call our phase one, which is fitting out and utilizing the 24 megawatts of power that we brought into the building. Our phase two, which we're not here to talk about today, but kind of as a snapshot, would be the expansion of an additional 230,000 square feet. And we will be coming back for approximately $275 million for that project. And that will be on or about 2 to 5 years. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Besides the buildings, what we also contemplate is introducing a substation. Orange and Rockland is also, there are discussions for them to also utilize the substation, so there would be benefit to the community as well as the data center expansion. This is just our equipment yard where generators are stored. I will say the residential area was very concerned about a data center coming in so close to them. We've never had a complaint. We've never had any adverse issues. We've been operating for over 10 years, and we think that we're good partners in the community.
What was the concern?
Noise.
Noise.
Yep.
So, Pat, the building as it stands now, how much of it is unoccupied, so to speak?
So there are 2 significant pods being built out. So we call it RDC3 and RDC6. So the majority of the building has been populated with data halls. They're the last 2 data halls.
And that's what this money is for?
Yes, it would be the completion of the build out of those. There's some infrastructure upgrades that would go along with that, and then some of the building upgrades at the exterior.
How are you getting the 24 megawatts? Are you generating it?
No, O&R brought it to us.
Oh,
Okay, so we have diverse feeds, so it comes from 2 different substations. We have 12 megawatts.
So just in case if one goes down, the other one carries itself.
Yeah, and that is a very good question, because the way that we're fed right now will change when we put the substation in. So, again, they'll shed some of that load and be able to serve other customers in the community.
But do you imagine is the model that we have done with you in the past is that there was some infrastructure build out that you apply directly that, say it's on your side of the DMARC, all that. Do you anticipate once your side of the project is done that we would anticipate hearing from potential tenants?
100%. Yes.
So do you have tenants for this area?
We have leases that are being negotiated right now. And a big kind of a chicken egg thing is with the equipment right now.
Right.
So everybody is hedging their bet because it's such a crapshoot getting the equipment. We've been successful in doing so, but the leases kind of go neck and neck with that.
This is a little bit of a leading question. How important is sales tax exemption in you attracting, because it's a competitive world out there and they have a lot of choices where to go how?
It's an absolute. We could not be competitive. We could not attract who we have. We have more, well, I'm not supposed to talk about who's in the building, but we have some pretty big logos in the building. And certainly, but not for the incentives, we wouldn't have them. We have some additional competition in that Pennsylvania just adopted a sales tax exemption, and they're developing a data center market that was not there before. So it is challenging. And the only reason we've had success is because of the partnership we've had with the IDA, clearly. And you guys have helped us out on many occasions, even speaking to customers we've sent into Steve. It's been fantastic. So we anticipate, at least the numbers that I'm talking about is probably a 2 or 3 fold of our customers that will be coming in, being induced also.
So after this is completed, you're basically full in the existing building?
Yeah, those 2 were full. There's some space that we never contemplated using that we're becoming creative because we're gonna have a little bit of power left.
You're gonna have a closet left over here.
Well, areas on the 2nd floor, it used to be the whole DR thing.
Yeah.
People got good at working at home. You don't need DR anymore. So
let's get started on the 2nd building.
We are literally, we're done with our approval process. We're waiting to get the drawings signed off by the town engineer to go pull the building permit.
Good for you.
Yeah, so we haven't been wasting any time.
Just for my own sake, what kind of noise do you guys make that the neighbors are concerned in your first phase?
Well, so one thing, people have a preconceived, they think of the Bitcoin and the hub. So they literally thought that you could hear the servers from the outside. Completely not the case. Then the drone of cooling towers and chillers and so forth, we don't have them, we dry cool. Then the thought of loud generators. Our generators, you would be hard pressed to tell. Number one, if one was running, you could stand in the yard and you wouldn't be able to tell which one was running. You'd literally have to go over and touch. The sound attenuation is what it is. So again, so we have the potential for 17 generators. I believe we currently have about a dozen generators there. They're exercised every week. No one has ever said, hey, I heard. There's never been a discussion. Going through the approval process, everybody came out with their pitchforks and, we let them know. Number one, we do comply with the town ordinance. We're below the town ordinance for sound, but we're well below and we've never impacted anything.
Do you believe that they're gonna come out again for the second phase?
I'm done. I've gone through all of the boards. Yeah, so we went through a pretty vigorous process that we went through once before. So we got the phase 2 approved several years ago and we lost the tenant. So it was so much time that lapsed, we had to go through the process again.
How many FTEs do you have on premise?
I'm sorry?
FTEs on premise, full-time equivalents on premise.
How many employees?
Yeah.
So our employees, I think that we estimate there's 30 some odd employees that we have at the building. And then we also have our tenants. So, we have 275 parking spaces and there's very, very little. On a daily basis, if one of our tenants is changing out a server or something, they might have an additional person in or out of the building, but there's not a tremendous amount.
That's how the building's going on the parking lot, I guess, right?
With the building going into the parking lot, there'll be additional security, not personnel like that.
Yeah, it's an enormous parking lot for the number of people you have.
There were 700 spaces when we started. Yeah, so right now, I think when we're all said and done, there's north of 275 spaces, which really just are not required, yeah.
Pat, apart from, and maybe piggybacking on to Mark's question, apart from, say, your employees per se, I do believe, if I'm not wrong, you do have, there's also very specialized contractors coming in who are hooking up all this, all this equipment.
Yeah, that's right. And we've partnered with local contractors to do all of the electric. I would say, if not all of it, 99% of it was done by Neil Electric. Holt was doing the significant construction. So we have very good local partners that we work with in the community, and they're in the building all the time. There's always something that's going on, being upgraded. Right now, in fact, Hudson River Trading, they've taken on that office space, which Timmy may remember. So that'll be our next build out prior to completing RDC 3 and 6.
And the generators, you're running probably once a week. And the only other time they run is if there's a power failure. So
That's correct.
chances are they're not going to run, it's a minimal amount.
Yeah, and the grid is very reliable up here. We haven't run the generators very often because we lost utility.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, would someone want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay. Mark Eller, Peg Zuggaby,
Yes.
Raj Amar,
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Okay, Pat, you've been induced. We'll do a public hearing probably, during the course of the coming weeks. You're not required to attend that. You're not required to, you're certainly welcome to, but you can come, but you're not required, nor would we, ask you to speak or anything if you did choose to come. It's a one-way communication from the public to us. And then in April, we will presumably authorize it, or the board will consider an authorizing resolution, and we can close on the exemption documents after that.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you very much. I
Good
really
luck.
appreciate
Good
it.
luck.
Glad to see you, Pat.
Everybody's help and support.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day.
Take care, Pat, thanks. We'll be in touch.
I didn't show you the second picture.
Oh, wait.
I'm not leaving without that.
If you plugged it in, you gotta show it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is our building as it exists right now. This is the expansion, the taller, more compact area rather than it. We did have the option of spreading the building, but it would have gone back towards the residential. We really did try to be respectful of their thoughts. So that's what's coming. That's what's here.
Wow.
This was a Chrysler building, correct, when you did the
So
Chrysler parts or something?
So Chrysler was actually over here. They had a training center.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was. And then they had, I think it was GE Mortgage was upstairs in 2008. They went running into the night.
And then there was.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Take care. Okay, if you don't mind, I'll move things right along. We have a resolution, Pearl River Campus. Short of it is Pearl River Campus. We had done this project. This is the former Pfizer facility. They have sales tax exemption, quite a bit of it left over that they haven't utilized. They've requested, they've been delayed in using it for a variety of reasons, which we have found more and more is not uncommon. In fact, ironically, we've got other resolutions dealt with the same thing, just delays in process. And they're asking, rather than having it expire, they've asked for an extension.
How?
In three.
For 20,
November 2025.
Thank you, Rudy.
So they're basically asking
They're not asking for more, just an extension.
Just, yeah,
Yeah.
spread it out.
from 3 years to 6 years.
That's the IRG.
Yes, yes. Their name, their LLC name is Pearl River Campus. It's IRG, and now I think they call it what is that,
iCampus,
I
Rockland.
think their
iCampus.
marketing is,
Yeah.
iCampus.
So, yeah.
So the exemption has expired on November 1st, 2022, is that correct? That's what it says?
Yes, that
Yes.
is correct.
So they're asking to pick it up from 2022 into 2025?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. What happened? Why did they wait 2 years? Or what? A year and a half?
As far as I know, they just were not aware that it expired. I'm not certain.
Never good.
We didn't notice in advance of expiration.
I guess we don't, right? Do they get noticed? I guess.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up.
There's something going on there. You can see them smiling.
Maybe they should have.
Typically, on the forms, there is literally an expiration date on it. When we give sales tax exemption, there's a form, it's called an ST60 form. It gives the amount, it gives how it can be used, start date, end date, and there's an end date. I suspect, like most things, it gets filed away, somebody, and they do, and I can understand, I'm not defending that, but I suspect that's what happened. What we're doing going forward, and I give kudos to Heidi for saying this, we will be proactively notifying people when they have.
I think that's a great thought process,
Yeah.
because I think if I was in that position, I would file it away too, so.
Right,
You
so
know.
now we have a process in place where I send notice when I see people either time or they're hitting their dollar amount. I send them notice that, make sure we're all on the same page
Are you sending
Oh,
it
yeah, that type of
to
thing.
the applicant, or are you sending it to their attorneys?
to the applicant. I'm happy to change that process. It's just those are the
Well,
people
the
that I
attorneys
normally
can
deal with.
change. The applicant is the
The
applicant.
applicant should get the notice, because that's usually gets it.
Yeah.
Again, it's done a lot in other IDAs, when the SC60s expire, but they don't get construction on time, and it gets extended. That's okay, it's not okay, it's going over what was approved for, that's another issue. But
Which we have too. Yeah.
Right, but as far as extending it, that's done a lot, but
Yeah.
again, I think
So-
it's a great idea to inform applicants that it will be expired.
So again, just to echo that, Heidi will be notifying people either A, it's expiring soon, or you're kind of hitting your max, don't
Yeah, like we
overspend.
had a few projects that they're within like $10,000 as of their last reporting. So I sent them a quick email just to say, this is what we have on record, just
So
so we're
this
all
is-
on the same page.
Right, so we'll be doing this, everybody will be under that, and that kind of goes back to, more and more, we're getting arms around some of these things.
You haven't made Ron say a word this morning, still quiet.
Well, meeting's not over yet.
I'm not done.
All right, let's move forward on this one.
Talk about poking the bear. All right, I actually need a motion if someone wants to make a motion to. Mark, okay, a second? Roger Marr. Okay, and Mark Geller, Peg Zugaby,
Yes.
Roger Marr,
Yes.
Tim Riley. Yes. Okay. Okay, next, this is actually, it looks like two things, but there is one resolution, so I can combine them. The 26 Myrtle and the Myrtle Corner, it's almost the same circumstance. They're running, they've hit delays on approvals, they've had other reasons why things, I believe that was there was a variety of reasons why they're butting up against the expiration date, and they were asking for an extension as well. Dan, I don't know if you want to expand on that at all?
Yeah, just in the letter that was sent by their attorney, and again, this resolution covers both. It's in the village of Spring Valley, and there's been some, according to the letter, some issues about, because they have county oversight now, they're kind of slowing some things down, and they'd like to, one expires on, at the end of this month, March 31st, and the other one is September 30th, 2024. What I'd like to do, and I apologize for this, in section 1, they actually asked for the extension to go to September 30th, 2026. If we could just make, I'll send a conforming document. It says 2024. That's on me. But if we could just make, that's what they're asking for, September 30th, 2026, not 24, as is currently in the resolution. I'll just send a conforming document to Ivy on that. These are two housing projects. They were currently, or they had been, about 4 or 5 different lots, as you can see, or maybe 6, and they're putting up new. A lot of it's going to be affordable housing, and this is for the the cost of the materials and everything like that. And it's they're right adjacent to each other with something in the middle, but I'm sure they're on their way, obviously, or maybe hopefully on their way, but with these slowdowns from the planning approvals and getting their certificate of occupancy, they've run this one.
And having projects in that jurisdiction, I can attest to, the time things are taken there, so just an FYI.
I think the good, there's from a different perspective, for those who didn't see it, I did send this out to everybody. The county executive gave a state of the state, or state of the county, and it was nice to see that we got a little bit of a shout out from them, but the conversation about affordable housing came up, and I suppose if I knew he was going to talk about it, I would have kind of whispered in his ear, we're doing something about that and housing in general, but these projects are becoming very tiring. So I guess with that said, if there's no comment, I'd like to make this.
I'll make a motion.
Tim Riley, second, Peg Zugaby, Mark Geller, Peg Zugaby.
Yes.
Roger Marr.
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes. I'll get Heidi that conforming document for 26.
Yeah.
Okay. Next on the agenda, the RCC stipend. At the last meeting, Heidi, we proposed to the board to essentially double the amount. And what was the?
So the total would be now be 15,000. Last academic year it was 7,500. So we're going from 3 stipends to 6, if with board approval.
So we need a motion for someone to formally, approve that stipend.
You need a motion?
Yeah. Raj, second?
I'll second.
That was a tie. It goes to Mark. Okay. So, all right. Mark Geller, Roger Marr,
Yes.
Peg Zugaby, Tim Riley. Okay. Labor policy compliance. We, at our last meeting, the board talked about wanting to have a policy in place, and we have something. Did we send that out to the board, or did we want
I made
to?
copies.
Okay. Did everybody have a copy, or? Yeah.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah,
I did it in preparation
okay.
of it coming up.
As you'll see, we've had asked Dan, I think Dan, I don't know if Dan and Ron or Dan,
Those guys.
making some changes to the policy just to essentially have a policy, tweak our policy a bit so there's more of a procedure to, what happens if somebody doesn't follow the rules. And Dan, I don't know if you want to talk it through?
Sure, yeah, there were a couple of points among the board last few meetings. I know Tim and I and Steve and Heidi had some conversations after that. One of the items that was talked about not only at the board meetings, but we've got this 80% compliance threshold And a question has come up, well, is that 80% on average over the life of the project? Or is it 80% on each inspection date or each report date? Because you get, certain periodic reports. And then, of course, you have spot checks through Wilkie Grill. And it wasn't clear. So if you take a look at the second page, the second paragraph there, based on conversations and the gist of where I think the board wanted to be, I kind of defined what 80% meant. The policy compliance with this policy requires an 80% threshold be met in each of the local labor utilization reports, and each time the agency or its designated agents examines the company's applicable books and records, as well as during any other spot checks which may be performed. And then we want to hammer it home. Averaging of the 80% threshold throughout any part of construction, expansion, etc., of the project site is insufficient for compliance with this policy. So that's what I got out of it, but of course you guys are the policy makers.
So let me just understand this better.
Go ahead.
Right? So there could be a project that they're doing and it could be, they're gonna use 70% local, and then the next project in the same phase could be 100%, so you're averaging it to 80%. Is that correct?
No.
Saying each reporting period.
Right, they could have, it was unclear how we define, what you described is someone could do that and say, hey, I hit 0 this month, but next month I'm at 100, so it's at 50. I mean, and that wasn't in
So
the
we're not
spirit.
using that as an average.
We're going to say, every time you go, you gotta be at 80% or you're in trouble. That makes sure that they don't manipulate the process.
We had a quick conversation about it. The reason why we are suggesting that is that, to make it where it's, where you can look back, where it's retroactive, well, this job, it's math. In other words, we're only at 40% today, but 6 months from now, we're gonna be at 90%, and we had more manpower. Then we have to do the math, and it really bogs it down. And then how do we enforce it? Because the project's basically done. So we said it's a low threshold. At any time there's an inspection, it has to be 80% of them. And now we also put into place, if you would, what the process is if they don't comply with the 80%.
Yeah, in addition to the spot
You like that
checks.
segue?
I do, good handout, yeah. In addition to the inspection, also the periodic reports would also have to meet that 80% threshold. And then there was some discussion about, okay, well, how do we go ahead and enforce this if they don't meet the 80%, whether it's through self-reporting or whether it's through, an inspection or a report. And if you take a look on the same page, and again, the underlined portions are the new ones. In speaking with Steve and Heidi and Tim, there was some question as to, how hard would the hammer fall and when would it fall? And essentially, the way it reads now, and this is not being removed, is that if the agency determines that the local labor requirement is not being met, i.e. the 80%, the company within 10 days has to, will receive a notice of violation. The company shall do one of 3 things: either provide confirmation to the agency that they cured the violation, or 2, submit a local labor waiver request, or 3, confirm in writing its inability to meet the local labor requirement. If they don't do that, and I understand this might be a problem sometimes, if they just throw your letters and your notices in the waste paper basket, there was a thought to put some teeth to it. So if the company does not respond to the agency's violation notice within 10 business days, or if the company confirms that, hey, we're not able to meet the 80%, at the next meeting of the agency board, whether a regular meeting or a special meeting, a question shall be placed before the board for the immediate termination of any financial assistance provided to the company. And before that meeting, the company would receive notice. So we want to put them on notice that, hey, at the next meeting, the board will decide whether to terminate your benefits. And I would think that would be a serious letter for them to receive. And they would have to come here, and it's a board decision, but they'd have to try and convince you why you shouldn't, but you've got your rules.
Can we take a step back? How are you sending this notice? The first notice.
That's up to you guys. Right now, I've left it rather open if you want to do a registered receipt.
I would register receipt
Okay.
because there's a lot of times somebody in the front can get a thing
Right.
that doesn't think of importance, read it as unimportant, throw it away, and as a receptionist.
Yep.
There we go.
Good. I'll put
So
that
this way, at least you have a backup saying that, look,
in. You got it.
you got
Just in audit,
Yes.
how they cure it? It's already occurred.
I guess, well, that was in there originally. They'd have to say that we come back up to the 80%.
What does 80% mean? Is that eight? So if you have 5 people working, 4 is 80%. But if the period before you had 100 people working, and
That's why we didn't want it, because if we get into the numbers like that, Mark,
how do they
our
cure it?
heads will explode. So we're just trying to maintain that 80%.
Well, it's up for, I guess it's up to them to convince us that it's good.
Now, there is just,
But
and let's not forget, there is a waiver and an exemption policy. What happens is we'll keep real. If somebody comes and says, listen, I got 5 guys, I don't have, all that 100 guys are not on the job this month, but I only got 4 guys. It happens to be a contractor from New Jersey that blah, 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 there's a process for them to come to us, and if we're reasonable, and if it says, okay, we get it,
So the board makes a decision?
No, I actually, right now, I do. I can sign off and say if it's a reasonable, some criteria, if there is, for example, there is some unique reason why that contractor they can't find somebody local. It wouldn't be electricians, it wouldn't be plumbers.
You're putting in commercial doors, which is kind of a specialty. They usually bring their own crew. They'll get an exemption. Matter of fact, Manhattan Beer did.
Right, because there was warranty elements to that, and so we're reasonable about it. We're not gonna be,
We're not trying to be heavy-handed, and at the end of the day, they're gonna come back to us.
Sorry.
And it will be our decision whether we wanna do anything, revoke the benefits, et cetera, et cetera. 99% of the time, hold on, 99% of the time, none of this ever happens. They comply. And then the few that don't are gonna have an opportunity to correct it. And if they don't, they're gonna come to us and explain why. And unless they're adamant or they're belligerent about their answers, no one here, in my opinion, is looking to rescind their benefits. We just want them to comply to the labor policy.
Like the other ones.
Question.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
What the first phase of a project, let's say it's a multi-phase project, construction, let's say that first phase or a good chunk of it requires specialization.
That would come under the exception.
Yeah.
They have to go for the waiver first right away, so it doesn't get.
And that's all explained to them.
Yeah, that's,
Low-key Brill is all over this with these people.
Yeah.
What we're trying to stop are the people that just aren't taking it seriously.
So
I'm
like,
sorry, this is way close. That percentage then, so like say the first phase of the project for the first 3 or 4 months, whatever that's involved, we're not counting that towards that.
That does not
No,
apply.
the exemption,
80% would kick in after that phase is done, or that number is gonna be 0.
they have somebody there drilling a well. That's almost a specialty trait. They come with 2 or 3 people. They'll be exempt. We're not, you get mine. We're not trying to get.
I'm just saying, but so that, someone's just gonna track it so that those numbers don't get reflected in the 80%
Right.
going forward.
So to add to this question, what happens with the specialty? Should they be sending an email or letter to the board saying that that's for looking or to looking growth? Saying that we might have a, like he said.
Because low-key Brill kind of is the gatekeeper of the communication. When it has to escalate, then it's coming to me.
Got it.
And then at that point, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's gonna come, if let's say it goes all the way up to the point where now the board, we're saying, you gotta come before the board. You guys will always have the discretion to say, all right, there was some extreme extenuating circumstance or whatever, but this gives you the teeth so that let's say we do terminate, now you have the legal teeth to do it without having to worry about getting into a big, into a legal battle.
After they get that registered or return receipt letter, they're gonna, we better straighten this out. And again, all the applicants and all the people we've had who we monitored, there's only been 2. One we all know about, which is ridiculous. We already took care of that because we had to. And the second one, if you look at the minutes today, he's complying. It's the Montebello project. So he was brought, I don't know if it was because of the fear of God or whatever, but he finally committed to compliance. We're done. Simple as that.
So I guess, again, in the spirit of moving the meeting along, unless there is
is
We want
secure at our sole discretion.
Yeah,
Procure.
that would be a discretion, what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mark's got a point first.
Okay.
So I'm just like, the cure piece, it's just, all of a sudden, it would be at our sole discretion, right? So,
And we would write this into the project agreement, so it would be the contractual enforceable rights. And they'll, you know, they'll have agreed to that. We have that right up front.
Hallelujah.
Dan, can I just ask a quick question? I just want to clarify.
Sure, I'm not running the meeting, but.
I just want to.
Neither am I anymore, so don't worry.
Well, I just want to make sure that the distinction is where that we really get two reports. We get the spot report for when they visited for the day, and then we get the overall monthly report.
Okay.
The spot report, because I think your language said that they had to be at 80% in both, and I just want to make sure, because like for one of our projects, they were at 67 on that day, but it was because ServPro was there for the day, which is not, we don't have a contract with them. You know, it's, you call ServPro to come clean something up, you don't know who's coming in.
Right.
So I just want, you know, like, I think that monthly report is the number we want to really be looking at, and I don't know if you want to make that distinction in the language.
Well, that would be up to the,
Yeah, well, that's
make
why
any distinction the board wants.
Right, I just wanted to make sure
So
everyone
this is
knows the
helpful.
difference between the two reports.
In the sense that, it's my understanding, Loki Grill goes out on
Yeah.
what I term here as spot checks.
Right.
I heard that, and is that the report you're talking about?
Well, right, that's a number we definitely
this is
look
what we
at,
look
but it's
at.
not unusual that on that particular day,
Okay.
maybe they were a little low, and we questioned, why were you low that day? In this case, it was because ServPro was there, which they called an 800 number, ServPro came to clean up. It doesn't affect their overall number.
But if it's a spot, I mean, again, this is
Yeah.
the policy, for policymakers at the table, but if, I would think if it's a spot check and ServPro would be I would think a waiver vote,
Okay.
entity. So maybe that would be, once it's called to the company's attention, hey, we did the spot check, where's your 80%? And then that first 10-day notice, yes, we had ServPro in on March 26th. They came in. from
Right, yeah, there was a definite
Yeah.
explanation.
And there's actually a document which I have signed, there's actually a formal process. Loki Brill sends me a detail saying this is what, like, this is ServPro was here, this is why they're below. Can you provide, and then I in turn kind of fill in the blanks,
Right.
sign it and say, okay, you have been notified that we are formally exempting you from that, blah, blah, there's a process to that.
Yeah.
This is just really tidying up some loose ends.
Tim,
And this-
is it your understanding that the 80% applies on each and every day, or is it a monthly, or is it the aggregate over the month?
It can't be the aggregate, because then we have to do the math, so to speak.
Or don't they?
Well, we do get that, we get that aggregate every month from Loki Brill
On the monthly report.
on the monthly reports.
I would think, I prefer the spot check and the aggregate for the simple reason that if we're dealing with an undesirable applicant, he can manipulate the paperwork, but he can't manipulate the spot inspection. So my point being is Loki Girl goes out there, the numbers don't jive. Loki Girl's gonna ask him why. And then if it's gonna be a ServPro, he can give him an exemption and that's the end of it. You gotta remember, everybody here is dealing in good faith. There's only one bad apple out of all the ones we deal with. So the start of this discussion was, we really need to define all of this so that when we go down this path, it's all in black and white, because some of the things we talked about before, we couldn't follow through because it was kind of vague. And when we had the conversation with Dan, there was a couple of things that brought up, we're like, so that's why we're here, just to clean it up,
Mr. Chairman, question on the side?
Yes.
I know you're running it, but on the notice, Rudy had a point
Yeah.
he just wanted to raise.
It seems like the first notice requires 10 business days,
Mhm.
but the second one is silent about how much notice there is.
Purposely.
So you could send out a certified letter the day before the.
Well, if there's a
board
special meeting, yeah, I mean, there was, in some of the conversation we had in the smaller group, there might be a violation so great that, hey, guys, we gotta jump on this. And so it was felt again, the smaller group conversation that we might want to, the chairman might want to call a special meeting to deal with something that, for whatever reason, if left to go till the next meeting, it would be moot. So your point is well taken. Obviously, I think there's something, there would be a good faith. We're not going to put it in the mailbox tonight at 5 o'clock and have a meeting tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But maybe.
I think we left that vague on
Yeah,
purpose,
yeah.
for the simple reason, let's see if they can clean up their act, that type of thing. And I think the original, if I remember correctly, was within what was the word that you?
Well, there was, we were talking about, yes, it wound up being 10 days anyway.
Right.
There were 72 business hours.
Like something.
We were saying 72 hours, within 72 hours, they would have had to clean and remedy the situation. Okay, well, is that 72 clock hours? Can they really remedy something at 2:30 on a Sunday afternoon when nobody's working there? Or is it 72 business hours? Well, if it's 72 business hours, that's 9.3 days. Business, full days. So, we kind of got into that,
And even before, the
times,
original said, and I can't remember, it was, you would immediately, something along the lines, you immediately fix this problem.
Yeah.
Well, Dan's point is, what's immediate?
Yeah.
Is it 1 day? Is it 10 days? So we just tried to define.
If you have any language.
It just seems like the second letter
Can I,
isn't doing anything.
can I put
Just
a
rely on the
pause
first
for a
letter.
second on this? How are we doing time-wise with our board? Does anybody have to, are we bumping up against it because we got a lot more business to do?
Okay, yeah, it's a good point. So where are we with this?
He's going to, I'd say, let's take his comments, let's formulate it into a actual resolution or, something that you guys can formally approve at our April meeting. If it requires a little more tweaking, we'll deal with it.
We'll do your comments.
Yeah, please do.
You guys can talk.
Okay. All right.
And hopefully we never have to use it,
It's good to have it.
All right, I'm gonna jump right into, again, because I am conscious that I'm gonna lose people, and I've got stuff I gotta have us do.
Peggy nodded off twice.
No, I'm worried about them.
Yeah, I know.
One of your out
They're
there.
good. All the noises are from the hallway, not from Peggy's girls.
All right, I'm going to ask somebody to make a motion to go into our audit and finance committee.
So moved.
Peg, second?
Second.
Okay. Audit and finance committee, okay, I'll just assume all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, same drill as we did with Reac. There was a draft report, there were no findings, there was nothing, and I'm happy about it. There was nothing in that draft report that, any red flags popped up. It's certainly welcome for you to make that judgment, not me, of course, but it seemed like it was very routine. Is there any comment about the draft audit report?
What's a parrot?
You know what, in the span of time, I still couldn't tell you what it stands for.
Public Authority Reporting Information System.
That's exactly it.
So it was a clean report.
It was a clean report, and I will say, just as an aside, I'm happy to say this publicly, our auditors are fantastic.
Yeah,
It's been a
very
distinct upgrade from what we had previously, because we didn't realize what we weren't getting until we got them, and they are terrific.
I agree.
And they're tough. I mean, we get a lot of emails from them saying, clarify this, clarify that, so that it's not some rubber stamp. It consumes a lot of our time, which is what you want.
Yeah.
You don't want a rubber stamp. Anyway, with that said, if there's someone could make a recommendation to adopt it. Okay. And a second? Raja Mar. Okay, and can I just do an all in favor? Okay. Audit adopted. Or recommended to be adopted. Okay, we'll adjourn that meeting and we will go back to general session. And now I need a resolution, audit report. I need a motion for someone on the board in general to adopt the audit report formally. Raj Amar, do I have a second? Bless you. Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Next, there is a resolution to submit, Paris, and it is that all-encompassing resolution I have that has all of our policies, is authorizing us to submit the Paris report and the audit report. If someone wants to make a motion, okay. Second, Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. New business, Low-Keeper labor reports. I think we just kind of inadvertently kind of went through that. It seems like the one outstanding project that was
They were in compliance
behind,
with-
they're now in, and,
Yeah.
so that process, and I do expect, as an aside, I think, this may not be the last time we look at that policy and tweak it some more. It's always going to be a work in progress to an extent. New business, is this a point where you should bring up data bank?
Yep.
Okay. Data bank is a data center that bought the former Verizon building over in Orangeburg. Several years ago, and I'm going to give a very broad, quick overview. Several years ago, they applied for and were approved for sales tax exemption and a pilot. And that project is underway. They're working. They've been going through extensive approval process with the town and all of that, and it continues. They have come to us and asked for us now at this point for a mortgage recording tax exemption on a mortgage of $199 million, which equates to approximately $2 million in actual mortgage recording tax to be exempted. The question that I posed to them and communicated through our counsels that are working with them was that this project is underway. What is the but-for language? Why would we give you this? The project is already underway. They've responded and said that they've changed their strategy, that if they knew they had to borrow, I'm giving a very quick synopsis, that they had to borrow, at the time they applied originally, they would have included it. Due to a variety of circumstances and more demands and expansion, now they have segued into borrowing as compared to paying just equity. So the question for the board, I want to bring this to the attention of the board. They have submitted an application. It's not on this agenda. There's no action. But what I would say is that at our April meeting, we will ask them to come before the board and provide a rationale. I've already said to them, the onus is on them to have the board feel that this isn't just an after the fact benefit, that you're kind of, you're already doing this. Why, what if we don't give you the benefit, what happens? And they understand that. Dan and Ron have communicated that to them, that is, they have to share that. Is there anything you want to add to that, guys? Is that a fair calculation?
Of course, yes, very fair. The way this came up, they're doing a mortgage on the ongoing project, Steve said. And, we were working with them. They wanted to subordinate your lease interest, which of course was typical for mortgage. And the attorney I'm working with on the other side said, okay, how do we arrange for the mortgage recording tax? And I said, well, you guys never applied for it. So, we went over the applicant. Oh my gosh, we didn't. So they said, well, can we? And I said, well, it's not my call. Let me reach out to Steve. And Steve rightly said, well, like any other project, if you want to amend your application, you've got to send us an amended application, which they did, which is essentially 3 pages of the box checking. And then they emailed to us yesterday a rationale. The industry is changing with AI and everything. They thought they would have enough money to do it, and they do, but they're now going to plow the money back into the project. And that email is for Steve.
How much is the mortgage for,
$199 million, and so that'd be roughly around $2 million of mortgage payment, and that's where we are. So it's not. Yes, along the lines. Did you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted to add something. They were planning on closing on a mortgage this week, and with this coming up, we suggested they, wait and see what happens. They do want to close quickly, and we don't think it's right to ask the board for a
special meeting?
spur of the meeting decision today.
If you go to my office, just unplug the doorbell. It's right behind that thing that's plugged in behind my desk.
But we'd like your guidance as to whether, just in case you want to go for it, we should publish a notice of public hearing and get some public feedback, and so you have additional information when you actually convene to address this.
Are you guys okay with that?
So
You guys are being so good.
We don't need any action.
We don't need the board to do anything. I just wanted to make you sensitive to the fact that that is a concern that, we wanted to share with you, that they need to provide us with a rationale.
What is the purpose of their remortgage? Or they have a mortgage?
Well, they were going to originally pay it through cash. We have the email that he sent to you.
Yeah, just all of a sudden they decided instead of using their own money, they're gonna go to a bank for a bond or a mortgage. And now they're saying, well, and the project itself, the steel is going up. They're knee deep into the project already. So it'd be kind of.
So there's two food for thought, just the way
Yeah.
we look at it, right? One is that, do they have enough money to complete the project? That's one. Or secondly, is there a reason why they are going for a mortgage? Because that's a substantial amount of mortgage.
See, whether they have the money to complete the project or not, they're gonna get the mortgage, no matter what. Whether we approve it or not, they're gonna get the mortgage. The issue is are they gonna have to pay the mortgage tax? That's what the question is. And from our position is, not our position, but glass half empty, well, you've already well into this project. Why do you need the benefit now? That would be the only question for us to answer, correct?
You're not gonna stop the project
Right.
if we don't get.
If we don't give it to them, they're still going ahead.
And I don't want to,
But it will,
have the board
will
pray.
give them more money to reallocate to the project.
I don't want to prejudice the board as far as how you may consider this, but at the end of the day, it's not about them keeping $2 million and save taxes in their pocket. Is there a public good? Is there a reason that it benefits the community to do this? And they understand, and we don't have to answer this question. We don't even need that question answered now. The onus is on them
As I said,
to do that.
answer
It's not us coming up with a rationale, it's them
Okay.
coming up with a rationale, and they're aware of that. Right. So is that a fair way of putting it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I would like is for them to come in and explain it.
Oh, yes, they're gonna be here next month.
Why now would we give them this benefit?
Okay. Would you like a public hearing before the April meeting?
Can't have a public hearing.
No, you can't.
Sure we can.
You can't.
But
We
have-
typically don't.
But we don't even have an application.
As the amendment.
Got amended, they submitted an amended.
Submit-
Oh.
This technically isn't a brand new contract.
No, we saw, we said, yes,
So you're gonna attach this to the original application?
We're gonna amend it.
Now I understand.
Yeah.
But,
So-
I mean, so you wanna have a public meeting just to expedite the thing?
Well, we're not trying to, we're just want to give you guys information.
Just in case, you should, they should explain it to you and you should approve it. Then we can move right into the mortgage signing the next day.
Who's the recipient of the mortgage tax?
I'm sorry?
Who's the recipient? The county.
The county, there's probably about $2 million.
Yeah, it's like 1.05% is the mortgage recording tax we would exempt them on a $199 million mortgage.
$200 million.
And
So
then
mortgage
there's
about $3 million.
the 0.3%, they'd still have to pay for the metropolitan
Special
transportation district.
Yeah.
Special.
So anyway, we just want to make sure you were aware of this. With that said, I would like to, we don't really have a small business program update per se.
No, well, I can be at the next.
We do, but
meeting.
in the
Yeah.
purpose of expediency,
Yeah.
we're gonna I would like us to, I know I only got you for a few more minutes. I would like us to jump into executive session. I can ask us to do that.
Need a motion?
In a
I'll make a
second.
motion.
Peg makes a motion. Tim Riley, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, you have a chance to eat then? Okay, good. I mean,
Take a quick.
okay, just need you, what? No, we're out of executive session. Heidi, is that back on?
We need to go.
We're on.
Okay, I need the board to consider the financials. Nothing spectacular. If the board accepts that report, we can consider that done.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
close.
Read the minutes.
Should I just make a
I'm
note
coming
that
to
while
the
you're
house
talking about
on Monday,
financials,
so you know.
the budget, based on with the Rockland Community College stipend program, you need to amend your budget to take care of that
Oh, okay.
additional expenditure.
All right, we can actually, I mean, there might be a formal resolution. I don't think we have it in hand for next month.
We don't need to.
Right, okay. All right, quick,
Can I just, one thing just before we get for next meeting, it should be, just so you know, we're gonna be doing a resolution, regarding, because right now the documents require that they have, we have to, if they assign the benefits, they usually come back here, we have to do approval, but what they wanna do, they wanna bake into the docs that we're preparing, on consent already to entities to be formed, and they list the entities. We still have to go through a closing in terms of, assignment forms, but they want to have the consent happen now as opposed to when it does, but they identify the entities, so for the 18th of the next meeting, we'll do a resolution. I just want to let you guys be aware of that, so. Okay.
all right, call to order, had an authorizing resolution for Shriner Group, all in favor. Inducement resolution for Hotel Nyack, presented an overview of their plans. After following discussion, the board approved the inducement resolution. I have all the particulars of who made, inducement resolution for 1547K, Pat Hines, 1547 gave an overview of their expansion project. After following discussion and a variety of questions, the board induced the project. Resolution for Pearl River Campus was approved. Resolution for 26 in Myrtle Corner, North Myrtle and Myrtle Corners was for sales tax exemption was approved. The board discussed and approved the resolution for the RCC stipend, increase the RCC stipend. The board discussed the labor policy compliance after a variety of questions and various discussions as far as how to, amend the policy. It was following that conclusion, it was agreed that the board will consider a formal resolution to consider at the April meeting. Board convened the Audit and Finance Committee, which reviewed the independent audit draft report, and board unanimously approved recommending to the full board to adopt the 2023 audit report. Action items, board consider resolution to adopt the 2023 audit report. That was done, all in favor. Resolution to submit to Paris and adopt all the policies was approved by the board. The board discussed low-key labor reports, which everyone is in compliance. Board tabled any discussion for the small business program. Board went into executive session at 12:20 p.m. Board reconvened and considered the January and February financials. All were in favor of accepting those. And that said, meeting adjourned.
Well,
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We had a lot to cover, and
I'll be right back.
okay.
okay.
You guys gonna stick around for